the idea that SpaceX is undertaking terafab with Tesla at unprecedented scale to secure compute here on Earth and in orbit, your reaction to that, Karin?
Well, my reaction is they've actually been thinking about this for a long time. So Lauren just talked about the FCC application for 1 million sats in space. But if you rewind back to 2022, they had filed a patent around getting computing resources to sats in space as well. So I think this is something that Elon and his team have been thinking about for a long time, frankly, at least since the post-ChatGPT moment. I also think conceptually it makes a lot of sense. So Lauren just talked about harnessing power in sun-synchronous orbit. But the other constraints on AI data centers here on Earth are not just power, it's land, it's permitting, it's getting contractors like electricians to put these boxes together. And those constraints don't exist in space. And so I think conceptually, it makes a ton of sense to be thinking about in the longer term data centers in space. The question, of course, becomes what you were just talking about, is it economical? And frankly, what we've been watching for as investors is Starship. And right. Starship Flight 12 should happen in April. They're going to be launching their Gen 3 of the ship, which will carry up to 100 tons of payload. And as a reminder, the plan is for Starship to be fully reusable in the future. And if it's fully reusable, ultimately the cost of launching it could come down very, very meaningfully, which would mean launching the AI data centers into space, those payloads, could make that whole concept very economical.
Karin, you and your team at Fidelity, what research and modeling have you done for the factors and the point at which orbital data center becomes profitable? A lot of people, when I said you were coming on the program, wanted to know if you've been shown any evidence by SpaceX about the viability of an orbital data center this decade, but many people measure it in the dollar per kilogram equation when it comes to Starship.
Absolutely. We do measure it in dollar per kilogram. And again, as I mentioned, it really comes down to how quickly Starship can be up and fully reusable. So as a reminder, Falcon 9, they just reused the booster, the first stage. And Starship will be both the booster and the ship. They've now successfully caught the booster of Starship 3 times at the tower catch. People have probably seen that, and they've had successful atmospheric reentry of the ship as well, but have not yet caught that. The other thing that they haven't done as of yet is they actually haven't dispensed of any actual payloads into space as of yet. They've tested out the PEZ door, which opens up to let the payloads out, but actual payloads have not been put out into space. So those are the milestones that we're really following. But you can bet there was an Excel spreadsheet at Fidelity that measures the cost per kilowatt, and when we believe this will become economical.
Oh, there's going to be people who really want to see that Excel spreadsheet, Karin. In particular, those who look more cynical on the outlook of the economy and the economic pros and cons of this. For example, Jim Chanos, well known for perhaps betting against certain key themes, but he asks in a post in particular how much 1 gigawatt data center in space would save in terms of power costs versus 1 gigawatt terrestrial data center. Can you push out where you think it could go at least?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, again, we're talking not this year, not next year. We are talking about several years out, but it could move down the cost pretty meaningfully. I won't give you an exact dollar amount, but we do believe it could be pretty material.
In the here and now, what we're all looking for materially is up to a $1.25 trillion valuation if SpaceX does indeed go public. How realistic do you think that is at the moment? What momentum do we need to see? Because at the moment, we're all sort of at the behest of the markets.
We are at the behest of the market. Obviously, the markets are feeling quite good this morning as well. But I think it's important to remember that SpaceX has a lot going for it right now. When we first invested at Fidelity back in 2015 in SpaceX, they had done 13 Falcon 9 launches to date. Today, they launch every other day. They're putting up somewhere between 80 to 90% of the world's payload. One company. When we first invested, they didn't have a single Starlink satellite nor Starlink sub. Today, they have 10 million subscribers across the globe. Obviously, there are ambitions to do more on the wireless carrier front. So SpaceX has a lot going for it. And of course, the cherry on top would be the future of orbital data centers.
Right. Incredible capital efficiency, right? $12 billion raised in its lifetime. And you think about what it's done with that. The next thing is, what's a scenario where SpaceX merges with Tesla, and why? Because that's the reaction that people have had since Terafab was announced over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people have been talking about that possibility for a little while, and SpaceX acquiring xAI certainly catalyzed those conversations even further. And I think Elon is, kind of putting his cards on the table, if you will, as it relates to his ambitions to vertically integrate the ability to be a chip manufacturer, as difficult as it may be, but also in putting in aggregate data centers. Remember, he's done it here on Earth. Colossus 1 and Colossus 2, he did in record time, Colossus 1 specifically, and very large GPU clusters. And so from an engineering perspective, I think he knows how to do it. I'm not trying to be flippant about how difficult some of these things are, but he is an expert at vertically integrating companies.